Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, it's so close, it's right there. We can almost taste it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm beyond excited. So in today's video, we're taking a lot of the information that we've talked about for the last number of months and rounding it up in an everything we know so far video. For those who are hopping in new, for those who want a refresher, for those that want to check their expectations, this video is for you. We're going over a lot of things Mass Effect Legendary Edition related in a rapid fire manner because there's a ton of information to go over. So I'm going to stop talking. Other than that, if you want to know about more Mass Effect stuff, you want to see more Mass Effect content, BioWare in general, this is your place to be. We love RPGs here. And with that, let's get started with what the hell is this game? Mass Effect Legendary Edition includes the base game content and over 40 pieces of DLC. Now, this is really important to note because each one of these pieces of DLC, from the armor to the story content to the weapons, have all been remastered in 4K. So everything is there except for Pinnacle Station DLC. This was like a holographic training mode. Like, you're not... I don't know how else to say it without being mean. You're not really missing anything here. So out of everything that could be missing, this is probably the best thing to go missing, and BioWare tried to recover it, but they just couldn't because it was handled by a completely separate dev studio, not even BioWare themselves. This game will be releasing May 14th, 2021, so we're very, very close to that release date. And not only will the game be remastering in 4K, they'll bring technical quality of life improvements like ultra-wide support, thousands upon thousands, 30,000 plus, mind you, of textures, up-res thanks to AI, improved lighting, and depth of field. Now, according to project director Mac Walters, the game will serve as a separate install on your PC as well, so that means no free upgrades like you've seen in previous remasters or sharing of files. So if you own the original versions of these games, nothing's going to really change here. And the PC version will boast a brand new launcher, so you can just jump right into any of the 3 games you want. Furthermore, there is controller support. Apologies in advance, we're going to be looking at a lot of Mac Walters tweets, but look, guy's the project director, he just tweets when he wants, and the information comes up, and I'm like, hey, well, what am I gonna leave it there? No, that's important for this video. I'm saving you the cyber stalking part of this all. Now, changes also carry outside of the visual department, which I believe most of you are very interested in, like load times. You know, the infamous lift right here, where it took almost like a minute to go through. That time has been dramatically cut down. It's around like 12 seconds at this point in time. But the developers promised that the elevator conversations and audio and news feeds remain where you can choose to exit when you want. Now, it's also been confirmed that these moments will load in earlier to accommodate the shortened load times. So little adjustments, little quality of life improvements here and there to maintain the spirit of the game while also making it more modern and improved. Missing as well from this remaster is the highly underrated Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. God damn it all, I just can't talk about this without getting emotional, but I'm going to fight through because I'm a warrior, so let's keep going. Anyway, this multiplayer mode is missing. It served as a horde mode, and BioWare said they strongly felt they chose things that fans were most passionate about. You felt wrong, damn it all. Kidding, but anyway, they also cited that the work required to get this thing functioning would have demanded the same amount of time spent on Mass Effect 1, which we're going to get into now. So speaking of Mass Effect 1, you might be asking what exactly is changing with each of the entries from the original trilogy. So let's start off with Mass Effect 1, and is it being remade or remastered? Well, the answer sort of falls in the middle. If you want a good comparison, and a recent one at that, take a look at Nier Replicant to the original Nier, which released back in 2010. It's not exactly a remake, but calling it a remaster, which is usually just general upgrades in the visual department, would be doing it a disservice. It's more along the lines of a version upgrade, and that's really what's happening within Mass Effect 1 inside this Legendary Edition. So what exactly does that look like, you may be asking? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Mac Walters took to Twitter to explain a bit more that the core mechanics of the game were maintained, such as your weapons overheating versus the thermal clips that were introduced in Mass Effect 2. However, the quality of life enhancements came in the form of camera adjustments by pulling it out a little bit more. It's not right attached to the back of Shepard, input/control changes, aiming improvements, which is huge. We're going to get into that a little more specifically. AI changes, so how they react to you in combat, adding cover to specific levels in the game, balancing the weapons, more control over your squad mates like in Mass Effect 2 and 3, boss encounter fine-tuning, having the Mako be a lot less dreadful of a part of the game, and adding in more sound effects because why not? So as you can see, lots of tweaks here, but it doesn't stop there, which is kind of awesome. If you played the first Mass Effect game, then you'll know all of these parts are desperately needed in the terms of fixing, especially with the shooting and camera controls. BioWare went into some detail on their own blog that the traditional RPG mechanics that involve dice rolling made gunplay feel bad due to the consistent stat checking. So when you were shooting an assault rifle, the reticle would spread really quickly, and that would be checking certain stats in your character and reacting to it. So it was true to RPGs, but there was no build that could, for example, remove all of that. So it would feel good as an RPG, but feel bad as a third-person shooter. So the gameplay systems and the RPG mechanics really butted heads a lot here. More specifically, this boiled down to the reticle, where accuracy and ADS had become tighter and snappier alongside ability rebalancing in the Legendary Edition. More improvements came in the form of a universal character creator. Essentially, this allows each entry to utilize the customization options from Mass Effect 3, alongside some new hairstyles, makeup, and skin tone, allowing your Shepard to feel more like your own, which is important, and be carried from the start to the finish of the trilogy. More on the topic of Mass Effect 1, Shepard can now sprint out of combat. Melee attacks are mapped to a button press rather than automatically happening, which is, by the way, huge. Relevant enemies take headshot damage, ammo mods can drop throughout the whole game, weapon penalties no longer apply, and they cool down much quicker on top of specific boss encounters like the one in Novaria, receiving more reworking than in the form of brand new cover. Oh, and there's even an XP rebalancing, so you can hit the level cap in one playthrough. Plus, the Mako itself, as I said, is supposed to feel better thanks to new thrusters being added for a speed boost, shields recharging quicker, removing the XP penalty from it, and not immediately dying each time you touch lava. You still with me here? Okay, good. There's more. Hey, they even brought back the original composer, Sam Hulick, to work on the soundtrack for this game, including a remixed brand new track. Now, they're not bringing cut content into this game, so don't expect any of that. There's not going to be things restored in this. They're just trying to keep the original trilogy as it is, which I think ultimately is smart. BioWare's had enough blunders where I don't think they need to take a risk here. So as you can see, Mass Effect 1 demanded a lot of work, right? It demanded a lot of time. There's a lot of fine-tuning there across all areas of the game. And that's why it's a strange thing to call it just a remaster, because it's been heavily augmented to, on paper at least, make it a much better game, which I believe it will, because none of these changes are so strong and so overbearing outside of, I'd say, the Mako, which is a vehicle that you're not in as often as being on foot as Shepard, that these should not be overbearing changes. The question may pop up in your mind now is, what about Mass Effect 2? What about Mass Effect 3? Are these games getting as substantial changes as 1? Well, here's the thing. Mass Effect 1 came out in 2006, I believe it was, so that's a pretty old game. It doesn't feel the best to play, I'll be honest. As much as I love Mass Effect 1, it doesn't feel that great, so it did demand the most work. As more entries came out in this franchise, they demanded less and less. But there are some pretty big changes to them, so of course, let's start off with Mass Effect 2, which received the least tweaking, and the Mass Effect 3, which had a pretty cool addition made to it that makes the whole trilogy, I think, a lot more appealing for gamers. So in Mass Effect 2, as well as the rest of the trilogy, the visual upgrades and support are all the same across it entirely. For Mass Effect 2 specifically, the ammo supply has been updated for the sniper rifles, so you're actually going to be able to find more of that scattered throughout the levels and not run out as quickly. Also, without spoiling things, it was confirmed once again through Mac Walters on Twitter that there is a, as most of us are familiar with, by the way, a particular survival run that occurs in this game where it was considered a little less forgiving in how the player made choices, which can now be eased up on in this remaster. Oh, and Miranda's ass effect debate. All right, so that's what we're calling it here. I know we all like a little booty. All right, so BioWare used to really position the camera to show off Miranda's ass, and they've sort of toned that down a little bit. So shots like this that were pretty obvious, like going, hey, check that out right there. Yeah, that's right. BioWare kind of cut that out with this one here. But Miranda's butt is still the same. Some have called it censorship when it's not. It's not at all. You can see and look at it as much as you want. But this was the most talked about change for Mass Effect 2. And I think it just goes to show that's how little has changed with this game. Now, what about Mass Effect 3? This was one I said got a pretty interesting change. The most controversial part of Mass Effect 3 is its ending, right? How it's been handled, how it was delivered to the player, how it, lacked the respect of all the choices you made across the trilogy for the most part. And so what they've done here is something I thought was really cool. Now, in Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, which was cut for some reason, they had this thing called galactic readiness. It was a meter that tracked your control over parts of the galaxy. And as you completed more multiplayer matches, you would have the ability to raise your galactic readiness. And once it was at 100%, you'd get the special ending for Mass Effect 3, so to say. In Mass Effect Legendary Edition, however, they have galactic readiness determined through playing the first 2 games or seeking out each and every option in the 3rd game. What I love about this is that it makes it more impactful for you to take the whole journey as Shepard, where your relations, your interactions are much more important because they impact the ending at the end of the trilogy, which I think will resonate with fans more, provided it's done right, which I think it can only go right unless it bugs out. On top of that, speaking of bugs, they've stomped out a bunch of legacy bugs, which means just long-standing ones that have been there since the original game. And so, at least on paper, I don't want to get my hopes up too much, even though I'm really excited, but Mass Effect Legendary Edition looks fantastic and looks to respect the franchise. But if you're looking to catch up, hopefully you've learned a lot through this video. And if you still want more Mass Effect content, we have a lot on the way. We're looking to do maybe a Mass Effect Legendary Supercut. That could be really, really cool. Got some ideas for some other content like guides. Of course, we're going to stream our Insanity playthrough. So get ready for a lot of Mass Effect coming your way. Cannot wait to play it alongside all of you, talk about it some more, and see what BioWare has in store for all of us. So with that, I leave it in your hands. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons, all the members, all of the people who have supported MrMattyPlays 2.0. Appreciate each and every single one of you, and I'll talk with you soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.